Our friend Chris is on.
Hey, Chris from Indiana.
No, Bornman.
Yeah, that's Chris. So I got to tell you what, we had a couple video interviews 2 days ago with a couple people, and man, we were brought to tears by some of the stories we heard. And so, Chris, thanks again for sharing your story. It was amazing. We look forward to releasing that video so everybody can watch it, because everybody needs to see it. Like, it's such a great story. And we love to hear your stories as well of, where you came from and where you are now and how we've been able to help you. It really encourages us to see and hear the results. And so we love you guys too. So yeah, awesome stuff. So Dr. Saunders, let's get started. Let's talk basics of type 2.
Okay. So listening to Chris yesterday tell a story, his story is important because it's not about necessarily that there was a diet and that I ate bad food and that's why this happened. And I talk about the basics of type 2 is too much. You have too much food, too much carbohydrates, too much proteins, too much fats, and too much energy that you're storing in your body and all of that. But there's so much more to it than that. And that is the story of each individual in your individual lives and how it affects people. So like Chris had neuropathy in his feet, broke his ankle, didn't even know it because of the neuropathy in his feet. He's walking around on a broken ankle. And those kinds of things, how can we help that? That's really what the basics of type 2 is about. How can we help improve that so that you don't have neuropathy in your feet, so that you don't have the complications of diabetes? Who cares if you have type 2? Blood sugar's high? Who cares? What does that mean? Well, what it means is, in the long run, how does that affect you? How does that change your life? What happens if you lose your kidneys and have to have dialysis? What happens if you have to have an amputation of your leg? What happens if you can't think anymore? You get Alzheimer's, and that is the complications. So really, if you can look at the bigger picture and say, the reason I do this, I'm willing to make sacrifices. I'm willing to sacrifice the things I really like. I love ice cream. I love peanut brittle. Gosh, yesterday, one of the girls here bought peanut brittle, and she's passing her peanut brittle around everybody. And that's like one of the things that, I really like. So, but I didn't eat any because I'm willing to make a sacrifice so that I can prevent problems in the future. So if you look at it from your why would you even want to do this program? Who cares if your blood sugar's high? What does that even mean? Well, it means what's not going to happen in the future, the things that you can prevent and avoid. So understanding what your why is. Why do I do this? Well, because I don't want my kids to have to take care of me when I'm older. I expect personally, this is me talking now. I expect to be over 100 years old, 110, and still gardening and even being a doctor, doing whatever I love to do, and not having to be a child because I take care of patients in a nursing home, not having to be in that position.
I know. Pause quick.
Yeah.
Could you guys watching type in your why in the chat? Like say my why is, and then just fill it out in the chat and share that with everybody, panelists and attendees. Thank you. All right, that's good stuff.
This is so basic to what needs to happen. So we can tell you the what. Okay, so when you come with a why and you say, I need to get over this because in many cases of my patients, I have an aunt who's on dialysis and I don't want to go there. I really don't want to be in that position. So how can I avoid that? So they come to me and ask me how they can avoid that. And it used to be when I was doing programs, I had a nutritionist, I had a health coach, I had a naturopathic doctor, we had IV nutrition, we had all kinds of resources. People would pay $5,000 for a 6-month program. At the end of 6 months, they would no longer have diabetes. They would be completely reversed, and they would do the cleanse, the detox, and they would come in every single week. And they're either seeing the nutritionist or the health coach, or if they're having problems, they would call. You know, it was a very tight program that was spelled out. And they pay $5,000 up front, and if they didn't show up, they just lose their money. You know, so they had to do it. There was no refunds. You know, this is it. Once you sign up, you're committed. You're on. In the Barton program, we don't have that kind of commitment. In fact, when you think about it, a $20 book, that's not much of a commitment. You have to have a different why. You have to be able to say, I'm committed to this because, there it is. I'm committed to this because I need to reverse this. I need to, because I don't want to have the complications that are going to happen later on. And so once you develop your why this is going to happen, then you can go to what you're going to do. So that's where we have this. And you can use the online one, you can use the print one, and go through it, read it first, all the way through, because we've had several people say, well, I'm still on phase 1, but I don't know what phase 2 is. Well, it's in the book, read it. You know, you go through the next steps and say, okay, so when I'm done here, in phase 1, when my blood sugars in the morning are consistently between 70 and 90, that's the fasting blood sugar, between 70 and 90, then I can move on to phase 2. And phase 2 is where I can start adding things in. I'm still measuring my blood sugar. I'm still figuring out what kinds of foods I tolerate and which ones I don't, because everybody's a little different. So then that's the phase 2 of the program. And taking pictures.
Yes.
Pictures of pictures. So once then you get into phase 2 and you're adding things in and you're saying, oh yeah, I had a big baked potato last night and my blood sugar was up in the 150s again, darn. So then you can monitor the kinds of things you can eat. And it's not the same for everyone. Some people can tolerate a sweet potato, but they can't eat a white potato. I don't know why that is. Or you have to be careful. Some people are really sensitive to fats. And so if they eat the potato with a bunch of butter, it's not going to work. But if they eat the potato plain with salt and pepper on it, then it's okay. So everybody's a little bit different there. That's why phase 2 is you adding in little by little different foods and going, oh, this affects me in this way, this affects me in this way. So that you then, by the time you get to phase 3, you have an outline, a personal program that is specific to you, that you're the only one that has this particular program. So that's how we've tried to individualize it. And you don't have to pay $5,000 and come and see me and to have a health coach and a nutritionist and do all the tests and everything. You're testing as you're going through. And it's so much, well, we do put the onus on you. So you have to do all the work. So that's why you're not paying someone else to do the work. But it works. It works just as well. And by the time you're in phase 3, you have a very nice program, perfect, that you can live with throughout your life. And it's foods that you eat because you're testing foods that you like and you eat. And you don't have some nutritionist say, well, you have to eat kale every day. Well, I hate kale. I don't care. You have to eat it every day. So the way that works is a way to individualize it to you, and you're just testing as you go. It is a lot of work, but definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Mm-hmm. As Chris can tell you, as you will hear.
Mm-hmm. So this is you talked about the $20 option or $49 or whatever it is if they get the printed workbook, but we've been talking about something in Utah. I'd be interested to get your feedback. And thanks everybody for sharing your reasons why. Like, man, we got some really good stuff. We're gonna have to save these as well.
I got to move up here, guys. Sorry, I got to do some work.
Oh, that's good. But so keep sharing your reason why, because that's important to really. And maybe you don't even know your reason why, and that might be one of the things that's holding you back. So once you get clear on what your reason why is, like that could be a game changer for your success.
This is really cool. Number one reason I hate with a passion taking medication. I have so many people come into it. I just want to get off this dumb medicine.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
My cousin had a left amputated leg, died a couple of years later. I've seen diabetic ulcers. I don't want to rot from the inside out. Wow. These are powerful.
Yeah.
These are powerful. Good.
Yeah. So we were talking about something. I'd be curious to get your feedback. Maybe I'll say that for later, like later today. I'll let people keep sharing their why. Let's get as many of you guys in here doing that. So keep sharing your why. Let's read a couple more that we can see here. Leslie, you got any you want to read off as you're seeing?
I don't want to go the same route as my brothers-in-law with drugs and insulin, and their health is terrible. A lot of people just want to be off medications.
Love my grandkids. I know Chris shared that as well. That was a game changer for him. So something Chris also shared that I thought was really powerful was he was talking about how he was he just lived like wild and free, and he's like, I don't want to be old. He saw old people. He's like, I don't ever want to be old, so I'm just going to live, hard and probably not make it out of my 40s. But then he had a grandchild, and he's like, that changed everything. Now he's like, I want to live to my 80s. Like, I love these grandkids. And so he had an amputation, and that was one of the hardest things he had to do was talk to his grandkids. And
It was emotional stuff.
And he shared this before too. But he's like, now he gets to tell his grandkids, like, sorry kids, but I'm going to be spending your inheritance over the next 20, 30 years or whatever. So, well, that's, yeah. So what is your why? What's making you, get the healthiest you can?
And I like that Georgia here. Sorry, you can't see me on camera, which is good because I just started to tear up thinking about Glenn's story, or not Glenn, but thinking about Chris's story again.
Yeah.
So, but I love that Georgia says the why is going on my wall and fridge. And that is a great idea so that you can see that.
Terry says, I don't want to be on any meds that are chemical based. Instead, I want nutritional supplements, nutrition. You know what, Terry, that is so good because all of the chemical based things, including the most common one like metformin, we've been talking a lot about that lately. They are toxins. They inhibit a natural production, an enzyme, for example, that the body normally uses, and they don't make the problem better. They don't improve the reasons that you have the diabetes or the type 2. So they actually can make it worse. A lot of the medications make the problem worse, so they cause progression. Like especially if you're taking insulin when you don't need insulin, that's actually a problem. So the idea of getting off of the chemical medicines is a really good idea because the natural things have a totally different basis, and that is allowing your body to make insulin normally, allowing your body to be sensitive to insulin normally. And allowing you to make energy the way your body is supposed to make energy. It's great.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So Anyways, Cinechroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Leslie, I think people are disappointed they can't see you.
Yeah.
Like Chris said.
I think they'll be okay.
No, Chris said you're the star.
You're the star of the show.
Oh, you guys. Come on now.
We do make a good team, though, don't you think? Like the three of us, I got to tell you, like that's pretty cool. So
I'm normally able to do all this stuff in the background but we're using my computer. So that's why I'm kind of working on a few things here. So there's lots of stuff going on Facebook, and I just don't want to miss anything. So.
Yeah. What episode is this? 83?
Yes.
So this is episode 83 of the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar, which we've changed names a few times, but that's what it is now. And so a little housekeeping, but if you go to bartonwebinar.com, you can register and join us live on these Zoom calls that we have every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. So, and obviously if you're watching this live right now, you probably already did that, or you might be on Facebook, but if you're watching it on YouTube, come join us live sometime. And bartonwebinar.com is the page. Also, that's where we talk about the diabetes solution kit. If you don't have a copy of this is like the guide, the handbook, the recipes and the instructions on like what to do and what foods to eat, what foods not to eat, getting your why figured out, like a personal assessment, just the basics. What is diabetes, type 1, type 2, the differences, symptoms, and then we get into the nutritional supplements and different remedies that you can take, all of that. So you can get this at bartonwebinar.com. We also, you can see the different products that we have, and we talked about natural supplements. And so we've become a supplement company basically. So this is 4 of our most popular ones, but you can see those on Barton Webinar as well. And if you use the coupon code, you can save an additional 25%. Type in webinar 25 as the coupon code and save.
I usually type all of this stuff in there.
Nah, don't worry about
Those of you who missed this, I hurt my knee skiing yesterday, so I'm kind of navigating this. I'm sorry.
So Elizabeth said, when I heard that it was possible to reverse type 2, seemed ridiculous not to give it a go. That's so true. I have one of those doctors that just adds a med if the numbers are not improved. Now on 5 meds, I would like to be off them. Weight is coming off with bone broth fasting, and blood glucose is averaging 93. So I feel well on my way. You are on your way, Elizabeth. That is so good, because what you're doing is not just lowering your numbers. So yeah, you look at the numbers because that's how you assess things, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is you're improving the way energy is made in your brain, your heart, your kidneys, and all of your nerves, so that you're not going to have those complications later on in life. Mm-hmm. And I loved what was the, I forgot who it was, that I read on there that said, I love my good health. That's my why. And I love that, because if you still have good health and you want to keep it, do it. Mm-hmm. That's a great why.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fear of losing your, leg or kidneys or whatever.
Yeah. So last week we asked you guys if any of you would be willing to hop on video privately with us and do like a video interview and share like your testimonial of where you came from and where you are now because of the diabetes solution kit or the supplements or the webinar or whatever. And so if you would like to share your story with us privately, we'd love to get your email address, and then Leslie will reach out and we can schedule a time together. We'll record it, and then we can share that with people, because hearing your stories, it encourages people. So people that come to us or wherever and find us, they want to see like, wow, this is, possible. And somebody mentioned like, I didn't realize it was possible to reverse this type 2, and it is. And Chris was talking about how his blood sugars were, well, he went into the hospital for something, but his blood sugars were like, 1,400 or 1,600. It was amazingly high.
Almost in a diabetic coma.
Yeah, I've never heard of being that high. And so, but then now he's back down to like, he got into the double digits. Like, it's amazing. And this is after he had an amputation because of the neuropathy in his foot and ankle. And but he's like, man, that was such an inspiring story. So he lost lower part of his leg and has what do you call it, a prosthetic. But like he's like, I'm not going to let that hold me back. And so people that may have already had an amputation or may feel like I'm beyond help, like, no, you're not. Like, you can get back, you can have an amazing life. And that's what we're here for, to help. So, and maybe you're already watching this and that's already been your story, so we want to hear it. So send us your email address and we'll connect with you sometime soon. So.
All right, guys, should we do a few questions, you think, here?
Let's do it.
I'm going to let one of you do that while I do this, if that's all right.
Okay. Who should take, this is from Maryland, who should take chromium and how should it be taken? What dosage, quality, etc.? Okay, so chromium is a mineral that is very important for an enzyme that allows us to use sugar. And it's not just, it allows us to get a lot more energy out of sugar. So instead of when you make lactic acid out of sugar, then you're only getting a couple of ATP, which is the energy source for the body. Whereas if you get, if you can go into the Krebs cycle, the citric acid cycle, then you get 32 ATP out of that same molecule of sugar. So it's a huge difference. There's a huge amount of energy increase when you can use your sugar properly, when you're not resistant to it. And chromium is one of those minerals that's required for the enzymes to be able to get that much energy out of sugar. So I test people. I test a lot of people, thousands of people, and chromium is a very common deficiency in the United States. If the soils don't contain chromium, then the plants that grow, you could eat like perfect foods, and you can even look up foods that say, oh, this has chromium, like they'll say that onions, for example, or green vegetables have chromium in them. But plants only have chromium if it's in the soil. And since the plant doesn't require chromium, then it's not replenished in the soil. So if the soil's depleted, then there's no chromium in the plants. And a lot of things that we think are things the way they are, a lot of the tests that were done for nutrition were done in the 1930s. They were done a long time ago. And so we're like 100 years later, and we're looking at the foods are grown in soils that are depleted of nutrition. So we don't have the same nutrients as if you look it up on a chart to say, well, how much chromium is in blankety blank? It's not that easy. So I test people and I find them to be low. So chromium being very important and being a common deficiency, what you can do is to take a supplement. And the chromium picolinate is a very good supplement. 200 micrograms is about the right amount. It doesn't have to be picolinate. There are other chromium, chelated chromium supplements, and they're fine. They're all pretty good. The ones that are chelated are better absorbed. And the reason why that's important is because chromium comes in microgram quantities. We're talking like 200 micrograms. And that, if you just have the chromium ion, then it competes for absorption with other minerals that are in milligram quantities, so 1,000 times more. So because of that, it's a good idea to get the chelated form. So chromium picolinate is a common one. It's easy to find at any supplement store. And it usually comes in around anywhere between 200 micrograms, 500, 1 milligram. In fact, if you get the 1 milligram and take it once a week, that'll get you plenty. That's a good way to do it, a weekly dose. 200
micrograms in Synachroma.
Yeah.
So if you're getting it, taking that, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So Marilyn, again, do you know if there are any health benefits of taking baking soda, especially with respect to autoimmune disease? If so, how much and how should it be taken? Okay. There are studies on baking soda. This is one of those stump the doctor questions, right?
Next time you're going to see a title, it's going to be Stump the Doctor. We're just
Right.
going to get a ton of people to hop on.
Okay, so yes, there are studies on baking soda. Baking soda is a way of making the blood, or the body at least, a little more alkaline, because baking soda is alkaline. There are other ways. Breathing techniques, for example, help the body to change the pH. If you hold on to carbon dioxide, which is essentially what the baking soda is, then you increase your pH. That's more alkaline is increased pH. Acid is lower pH. So yes, there are studies on baking soda. About a half a teaspoon a day is all it took to make a difference in people who didn't progress on to renal failure. So they already had stage 3 renal failure, which means they had high creatinine, their kidneys were already borderline functioning. And so they started giving them baking soda, and the ones taking the baking soda did not progress on to renal failure and dialysis. Whereas the ones not taking the baking soda were more likely to progress on to renal failure and dialysis. So baking soda has been studied in a lot of different things. And you may have heard of different alkaline waters. I'm trying to remember the name of a specific one, but it doesn't matter. Alkaline water, right? So you buy bottles and it says alkaline water, pH 9 or whatever it is. And those are fine too, but those aren't really studied. The studies were done on the baking soda. And so it's so much cheaper, just like once a day, you have your glass of water, just put a half a teaspoon of baking soda. I hate the taste of it, by the way, but I do it occasionally. And it does help the body to be more alkaline. Now, breathing techniques is another way. Baking soda isn't the only thing that does that. So yeah, baking soda is good.
Okay, I might be able to read one.
Okay,
Paul. This is coming from Paul. Does having a high carb meal in the evening before 6 p.m. guarantee a higher blood glucose reading in the morning? If I exercise for about 1/2 hour before bedtime, would that help me to have a better morning reading?
Oh my gosh, Paul. Okay, thank you, Paul, for asking. Okay, if you didn't understand that question, it is, does what I eat at night determine what my blood sugar is going to be in the morning? And then does exercise change that? And the answer is yes, but it's a qualified yes. Everybody's different. No two people are exactly alike. So if you have some people will, for example, if they eat a high carb meal, their pancreas puts out a whole bunch of insulin. So they have really high insulin levels, and it drops their blood sugar way down to low. So they even may get hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar at night, in the middle of the night. Or if their blood sugar starts coming down low and they release a bunch of glucagon, then their liver starts putting out a whole bunch of sugar. And so they check in the morning and they go, what the heck? Why is my blood sugar higher in the morning than it was at night? When I took my insulin at night, or I didn't even eat a high carbohydrate meal. There is no way you can tell a 1-to-1 ratio of, if I eat this, then I'm going to have this blood sugar in the morning. You can't do that. And will exercise help? Absolutely. Exercise is like taking extra insulin without getting all the problems of insulin. So it makes you more insulin sensitive. So exercise is definitely helpful. And a half an hour at night, that's fine. That's fine. So the way you would know then is you test you, and you say, okay, if I eat this, I test my morning, and this is what I find, that every time I eat this, I get this kind of a blood sugar. And what happens in between that time, there's a lot of things going on. You can't, it's just so complex that you can't say this causes that.
Okay, before we go to another question, let's do a couple of things that came in here about the answers you've already given. 1 second. Okay, question about baking soda. Would that raise my blood pressure?
No, yeah. People always worry about that because it's sodium bicarbonate and there is sodium there. People who are salt sensitive, perhaps, but it's a relatively small amount of sodium. The majority is the bicarbonate. And, sodium is necessary for the body. So if you have normal kidney function, then it shouldn't raise your blood pressure.
Okay. And someone asked how much water in the baking soda when you're drinking it.
Oh, well, if you dilute it more, it's not as terrible tasting. So, if you have a cup of water, 8 ounces or 16 ounces or something, and just a half a teaspoon of baking soda. I don't know. I don't like the taste of it. Some people might.
Okay. You mentioned breathing techniques. Any recommendations?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, we should. Did we talk about that? We did one. Okay. So look back on our breathing.
Did we do the whole thing?
Well, we talked
We
about
mentioned it.
I don't know.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. In fact, it's the title has something to do with vegan, I believe, because Esther did it.
Oh,
I'll find it. You guys
right.
chat up and I'll find it.
That's right. Esther did it. That's right. We did talk about that, how important breathing. So the breathing techniques, if you take yoga classes, they often talk about breathing techniques. Those yoga breathing techniques are great. If you've ever heard of Wim Hof, the Wim Hof program has breathing techniques. The purpose is to get your pH up higher and then bring it down lower and then bring it up higher so that you have a wider range for your carotid bulbs to work better. If you want to read a book, there's a really good book called Breath, and the author is Nestor. And that book, I was skeptical when I'm like, really, a book on breathing, So I read the book and I was like, wow, he's really done his research, even on himself. He and a friend did some research on nose plugging, mouth breathing, and why it was important to breathe through the nose. But not just that, but all types of breathing, including he talks about Wim Hof breathing in there too. So if you want to read about it, if you want to know more about it, get the book, Breath. It's a good book.
This question comes up quite a bit, and we may need to record this one so we can put it on our frequently asked questions. But, lost it here. I know diet soda is not good. However, what are some alternatives to water?
Okay. Well, the answer to that is, it's hard. It is, don't drink anything with sweeteners in it. And really it's to avoid the sweet because it's the sweet taste that stimulates the receptors to make more insulin and cause more insulin resistance. So that's why people who drank diet sodas gained more weight than people who drank regular sodas, even though they're both sweet. It's just that the sweeteners that are in them are 300 times sweeter than sugar. And so they're stimulating those receptors more in the intestines that cause more release of insulin. So it's not simple. I know it's hard. I know people are used to drinking, sodas with meals and sweet drinks and juice and all that kind of stuff. But the best way, if you have type 2, avoid all of them. Avoid anything artificially sweetened. They have these new ones now that are infused waters. Waters they're just infused with flavor, like they have some strawberry flavor, some peach flavor. And they don't have any sugar, any sweetener or anything in them. It's just a slight flavor to them. I've had a couple of those and they're decent. If that works for you.
What about kombucha?
Kombucha, again, it has sugar in it. The way they grow the yeast in the kombucha is they add sugar. So
You have to look because some kombucha, most of the sugar ferments during the process, but sometimes there are some brands that put sugar back in it. So you do need to kind of look up some of those. Because I know I bought one and it said it had like 22 grams of sugar. And I was like, what? And they added, I looked it up because I was curious because I've made homemade kombucha before. That shouldn't be happening. So you may want to check that out.
How about coffee and tea, unsweetened?
Yeah, see, unsweetened coffee and tea, that's a decent way to go. So people ask me, Can I drink coffee? Because everybody's assuming that I'm just going to tell them they can't drink coffee. But all of the research that's been done on caffeine, specifically coffee, tea, don't show a cause of any problems except people who are sensitive to it. And if their adrenal glands put out a bunch of adrenaline and they get nervous and jittery, then don't drink coffee, because that's going to make you nervous and jittery. And that's just your chemistry, the chemistry of your body. But there's no like overall, like people who drink coffee get this problem. There's nothing.
You can also do a squeeze of lemon, like in your water. That helps freshen it up a little bit. So,
yeah.
Or iodine.
Yeah,
It's true. Okay, this question is coming from our friend Eve. Eve, how are you? We want to know how you're doing. Do certain meds for high blood pressure help to lower blood sugar in a type 2 diabetic? This info is for a friend.
Okay. So the question, do blood pressure medications lower blood sugar? The answer is generally no. However, there are beta blockers which slow down the adrenaline system, so people don't eat as much. So it comes down to really food and diet and eating. And that's why, you know, with the Diabetes Solution Kit, we've addressed mostly just eating and really nothing else. We don't put in a lot. We talk about exercise, and that's important. But the food that you eat is the most important thing. Whatever other medications you have are not going to be significant.
All right. Question from Meg. In phase 1, how much of the 20 grams of carb can be eaten at once? Do you have to tally all the carbs in the non-root vegetables and include them in the 20-gram limit?
That's a good question. Actually, if you were to just eat one meal a day with carbohydrates and you had your 20 grams of carbohydrates, let's say you had an apple or something, a big apple, and that was your one meal. And the rest of the day you had the free things, all your greens are free. You can have as much of that as you want. That doesn't add any carbs. And so if you had, celery and it had a salad or something like that, eat an avocado. So if you put all of your 20 grams of carbohydrates in one meal and the rest of them you had free foods, that would be okay. That would work just fine. Yeah. Either way, you're not getting enough calories in a day in carbs to be able to run your body. So you're going to have to start burning fat. You're forcing your body to use, hopefully, your own fat for energy.
Okay, John says his feet are very dry and at night he applies a beta cream. Any suggestions?
Okay. Dry feet is a really interesting problem because it has as much to do with circulation as it does with anything else. And so putting stuff on the outside, the creams work well. Most of the creams, everything like over the counter, the prescription creams, they're all made with petrolatum, petroleum jelly. And it's these mineral waxes are not really a good way to have any long-term benefit. So, but if you use something as simple as coconut oil, works really well. Olive oil, get a foot massage with coconut oil or olive oil. Those kinds of oils work really well. There's jojoba oil and various other types of creams that are natural oils that come from seeds that are wonderful for keeping the hydration. And it's a good idea to keep it hydrated because if they're really dry and they start getting real thick skin, then you could get cracking, and the cracking can get infected, and then that's where people can get ulcers and not know they have an infection because they have neuropathy. So keeping your feet, the skin of your feet intact and taking care of your feet is a really good idea.
Okay, question from Patricia. I am pre-diabetic. How do I measure my blood sugar, and should I be doing this now?
Oh, good question. Okay. pre-diabetic, your blood sugar is probably not going to be the biggest issue, but it might be helpful for you to know what it is. The answer to your question is no, you don't have to. It's a little bit of information that can help. It's like, say you're going on to phase 2 and you don't know what your blood sugar is and you don't know how things affect your blood sugar, then it makes it a little more difficult to go into phase 2 of your program, because you don't know what's going to, what if you eat a potato, you don't know if that's going to raise your blood sugar or not. In fact, some people, if they do, like we talked about doing the low fat diet, where people have like very little fat and they're eating a very high carbohydrate diet, high in fiber, but they're also eating a lot of fruits and potatoes and vegetables and, rice, stuff like that. And yet their blood sugar isn't affected very much, because it's the fat that makes you resistant to insulin. So it's not like it's so easy to say, well, this food is going to cause this problem. And like I said, if you mix things, like if you have the potato with the butter or cream or sour cream or whatever, that may affect you a whole lot more than the potato without the butter or sour cream. So it's not necessarily just the potato. So that was a long way of saying it might be helpful to get a blood sugar monitor and see what it is and follow your blood sugar.
This is a good question from Susan. I drink boiled water with cinnamon sticks. Is this too much while taking the Synachroma?
No, that won't be too much. The amount that you get from the cinnamon sticks is very tiny compared to like what we have in Synachroma. So the Synachroma, they take large amounts of cinnamon and they extract out it's a whole extract. And then dry it. So it's going to be more concentrated than what you're getting in the tea. The cinnamon tea is great. Yeah, just keep doing the cinnamon sticks. That's a good idea.
Brian's wondering, is honey considered a sweetener?
Yes. It's really simple. If it tastes sweet, don't eat it. So people are going like, well, what about agave nectar? Can I do that? Agave nectar is like high fructose corn syrup. It really is. It's a mixture of glucose and fructose, just like high fructose corn syrup. What else? Monk fruit extract. Yeah, that's actually low carb, but still it can induce the release of insulin and still cause you to get insulin resistance, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. So no matter how you look at it, if it tastes sweet, avoid it.
All right, I got something. So yesterday we were talking to Wim Hof.
Yeah.
So outside where we're at, there's a hot tub and a cold tub, and we were kind of doing some competitions a little bit, maybe.
Not a competitive bunch here on the Burton team at all.
All right. So your daughter did 5 minutes in the cold tub, and then Anders eventually won. He did 6 minutes. Anyways, you were talking about how Wim Hof talks about embracing the pain. And I think sometimes, like, if you can't have sweets, like, embrace it. And how can you change that in your head? Like, oh man, I can't have this. It's like, no, I get to like experience something that I've never experienced before, where I'm not going to have sweets, and then see,
that's a great way to look at it. And so in yoga, they teach this too. This is a principle in a lot of religions, is allowing the discomfort, allowing saying it's okay. When Jesus told his disciples, in the world you will have tribulation, but don't fear, don't be afraid, don't worry about it. And that's kind of what Wim Hof was talking about in being in the cold bath. You lay in this ice cold water and you go, it's okay, it's okay. You take a deep breath and you need to do your yoga breathing. And you breathe in, breathe out, you focus on your breathing and just and feel the cold and just allow it to be. And you could do that, I guess. That's a great idea, Joe. If you're not getting your sweets, you go, okay, I'm going to have something I like that's not sweet. So, people eat, I don't know, we were talking about venison jerky with Chris the other day, and how good that is. And so something that you might enjoy that's not necessarily sweet, and saying, and allowing other people to eat their sweets and go, it sure smells good, and just allow it to be and smell it and enjoy it, and you don't have to eat it. I think it's a good idea.
But yeah, struggling through that sense of pain, it's like your body is going through like cravings, but like just let those cravings happen, but don't feed them with sugar or whatever else that you might have. But they'll go away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does. In fact, they've done research on this. When they come back and ask people who are like really hungry and they don't eat, they're fasting, they come back and ask them 10 minutes later, are you hungry? And they go, oh, no, I'm not hungry. 10 minutes is all it was. And you'll find that, like, if you've ever been fasting, or someone was talking about earlier, a bone broth cleanse, when you're doing that and you go, oh man, I really want this right now, whatever it is, some fruit or something. And if you just put it off, 10 minutes later, you're going to go, oh yeah, I forgot. I don't even care anymore. It's not something that goes on forever. And that research has been done, and they come back and ask them 10 minutes later, oh yeah, not hungry.
I think someone shared on this webinar one time when they were making decisions about food, or which, they're at McDonald's, they can choose a salad or a Big Mac. And they would always envision, okay, what would a healthy person pick? And that's how they made their decisions throughout the day. I thought that was kind of good.
Real quick too, so I think this would be a good time for me to talk about what I was going to say earlier. But we talked about how this is a $20 ebook or $50 printed book, but we're talking about how we might launch a much more expensive program for people that want to, like, maybe they don't feel like they can do it on their own. But what if we did a week long where we all came into some sort of a retreat center together for a week, and all we did was eat healthy, learn more about health, practice the 6-10 reset, cook together, and just like live the perfect week in a sense, and search your luggage for peanut M&Ms.
Everybody coming in gets search. We don't bring a gun. We don't care, but no M&Ms.
No M&Ms.
No chocolate.
But we're talking about doing something like that, and it'd be limited to, I don't know, we'd probably start with 30 people maybe, but it would be between $5,000 to $10,000 at least. But like, some people like just they're willing to pay that, but like, imagine you can go a whole week and like develop that habit and see the results. Like, you test your numbers at the beginning of the week and then test them at the end, and then you'd be equipped as well. So like, if you don't feel like you can do some of these things on your own, that's kind of what it's for. And so if you're interested in something like that, let us know. But like, we're working on that. We're talking about it.
Yeah, we're talking about it because some people call in and they ask, they go, like someone just today said, I never thought it was possible to reverse this. No one ever thought it was possible. And I don't have any examples, and I don't know anybody that does it. And I can't talk to my doctor. I don't have anyone I can talk to. Where can I get an idea of how this would look? How does it fit into my life, and how would it look? So something like that would be, we've been talking about how we can arrange for, people to come in and just get a feel for, this is how it looked, this is how it feels. And this is what the food is like, and this is, and actually we were thinking of having everybody in the kitchen. You're making this, and
it's fun.
Learn how to do it. So,
which is what we do when we get together.
Yeah,
when our team gets together,
and our team will be there together too. So you get to hang out with Leslie, the star of the webinar.
Oh boy!
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. He's my best friend, but it's fine. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Robert, good question. How about beer? Light beer. Is beer bad for you?
By itself, okay, so beer is very high in carbohydrates. Definitely avoid it. If you look on the I don't know how much carbohydrate a can of beer has, But
It doesn't even tell you on the label. I don't think it doesn't have to because it's alcoholic beverage
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Well,
But
difference between light beer though and regular beer. There is a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a difference, but it's sometimes a minor difference. They water down the beer a little bit. I don't know what they do, but
It's like 90 calories is light beer, isn't it? For like 12 ounces or something, maybe.
And usually it's
Yeah.
pretty low carb.
Is
Yeah,
it
but
low
that's
carb?
still.
It is, but I mean, not to encourage you, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
light beer usually is.
Yeah, it's a good idea, especially when you're on phase 1. Definitely avoid the beer. If you're into phase 2 and you can drink a beer and you find out how it affects your blood sugar, and you go, gosh, beer doesn't affect me. I can have 1 or 2 a week. And if you think of it on a weekly basis instead of a daily basis, I can have a beer on a weekend or something like that, and it's not going to affect me. But find out how it affects you first.
And if it affects your sleep, because you don't want that to
That's important.
get impacted.
Mhm.
Okay.
We had quite a few people chime in since we talked about the retreat. I'm wondering what they're
Okay.
saying. So.
Oh, thank you. Someone's praying for my knee. I love it. Oh, it's Chris. You're the best. BFFs. Okay. I gotta move this 1 second here, guys. Saw a beer ad yesterday claiming 2.5 carbs. That was ultralight Michelob.
Okay.
Wine
Wow.
is high in sugar. Budweiser has 55 calories and 9 carbs.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Let me scroll up, guys.
It's not as bad as I thought, but
There are some of them that promote
Use-
themselves as low carb beer, but
Yeah.
it's I feel like it's
generally,
choose at your own adventure.
yeah.
Okay. Deborah says, yes, count me in. She would love to do the retreat. That is awesome.
All right.
Favorite hour of the week. Oh, Chris, you are just on fire. Okay. Luann says, my doctor is awesome, but she believes in metformin and medication and doesn't really support supplements. She told me I would be taking type 2 medication for the rest of my life.
Okay. Thank you. That is a very common problem that we are told as medical doctors that if you put somebody on a medication who has a chronic illness like hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, all of those kinds of things, these chronic kinds of illnesses, that we are told that once you start a medication, they're on it for life. And so like with the blood pressure medication, you start the blood pressure medication, and if their blood pressure doesn't come down, you add on another one. And then if it doesn't come down, you add on another one. So now you never take them off of anything. You just keep adding more on top, even if they're not working. So that's what we're taught. So that's the way doctors learn. Don't think that that's the way it has to be. That's the only way the doctor knows how to do it, because that's the only way we're taught how to do it. There are other ways. So the other way is then if you start doing the lifestyle changes and you notice your blood sugar's going down, you go, oh, my blood sugar's going down. You may even call your doctor and say, I'm really worried my blood sugar's going down on this new program I'm doing. And I'm worried that it might get too low. Should I stop one of my medications? And which one should I stop first? Then the doctor would be on board. He's saying, oh no, you don't want hypoglycemia. So yeah, we better stop one of your medications. The same thing with your blood pressure medications. When your blood pressure is getting low and you go, you know what, my blood pressure is getting low, or if you go into your doctor, whatever, your blood pressure is getting low, and I'm really worried about getting dizziness. Which of the blood pressure medications should I get off of? So it's really simple that as your lifestyle changes and as your numbers come down, just use the numbers. And when you go on the number, if the numbers are getting low, then you go, oh, I got to stop something here because my numbers are getting low.
Good. Someone had asked a question about feeling hypoglycemic. So they decided to reintroduce candy and stuff like that again. And Kathleen was just kind of wondering, why was I weak and shaky if my blood sugar is getting more toward normal?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. Okay, if your set point is 200 and then you suddenly drop to 100, guess what happens? When your set point is 200, you have a certain number. Let's just say you have 5 glucose transport proteins pulling sugar into your brain, and they're pulling it at a certain rate. Now you've dropped your blood sugar in half, and you still only have 5 getting sugar into your brain. So you need 10 now to get that amount, the right amount of sugar into the brain. So that's what happens. You can get hypoglycemic episodes as your blood sugar is coming down to normal. And is that bad? Well, actually, it feels horrible, but it's really not bad. They did a study on mice, on rats, and they took these rats and they brought their blood sugar down with insulin. They brought their blood sugar down to 40. And for those of you who don't know, around 100, 70 to 90 is optimal, around 100 is normal. Well, they were down to 40, which is hypoglycemic. So they kept them hypoglycemic, and after 3 days, it took them 3 days, they're up running around, they check the blood sugar, it's still 40. And these rats are running around as if they had no issues at all. For 3 days, they laid around doing nothing with hypoglycemia. And then they measured their glucose transport proteins in their brain, in the blood-brain barrier, and there were 10 times the number of glucose transport proteins. So it took them 3 days to get there. So if you get low blood sugar, if you're getting in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, and you're feeling hypoglycemic, it's okay to eat some nuts or carrots. I usually tell people, keep some of those baby carrots with you or something. That's often helpful to bring the blood sugar back up. But again, it's not a bad thing, because that's what's going to stimulate your brain to start producing those glucose transport proteins to prevent you from getting Alzheimer's disease in the future. So it's still good.
All right, guys. So we're almost out of time here, but do you have any questions you wanted to tackle on here?
I haven't really been looking.
Okay. Well, this is a really good question. Marilyn says, do you know where the retreat would be held?
At a mysterious location to be.
We can't announce that to everyone.
No.
Some island in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But she also asked about vaccines.
Yes.
So we've been talking a lot about vaccines, especially the vaccine for the COVID-19. Just remember this one thing. The vaccine is still untested, and the idea was to test it on millions of people to see how it worked, because it was untested. They've never tested it on animals, the COVID-19 vaccines. So if you got the vaccine, you're a test subject, really. But the problem with that is nobody's doing the research. They didn't say, okay, these million people, we're going to give them all vaccines and see what happens, and follow them along and see how many of them get allergic reactions, and how many get other reactions, and how many have other problems, and then what happens to them later on down the road. Because with the animal studies, the original vaccines on coronavirus, they gave the animals the vaccine and they did just fine with the vaccine, but later on, when they got the coronavirus infection, they died. So we don't know if that's going to happen to people, So the answer is no. I haven't done it. I'm putting it off. I'm just, if I'm healthy and I'm taking vitamin D, and I don't think I should take a vaccine from someone who might want one, because they're still in limited supply.
Hello. Okay, today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Easy Relief Magnesium Spray. Now, this is fast absorbing magnesium that is a topical spray that you spray on your skin. And it is vital for over 300 functions in your body. Now, the nice thing about this magnesium is, first of all, you don't have to ingest it, so you can't take too much of this. Your skin is great at absorbing only what it needs. So you spray about 30 to 50 sprays of this per day, and I personally do it 2 to 3 times a day of 10 to 15 sprays, and I do it on my chest and my legs typically. And this is going to correct the deficiencies that most people have. Now, how do you know if you need magnesium? Usually the symptoms are you have muscle cramps,
trouble sleeping, if you're fatigued, if you have erratic blood sugar, if you experience any type of numbness or tingling, or if you feel down in the dumps or feeling blue. Now, those are all different types of symptoms that a lot of times magnesium can help with. So highly recommend this product of Easy Relief Magnesium. It is super easy. You spray it on. You don't have to take a pill or anything like that, and you don't have to worry about absorbing too much. This absorbs quickly. Now, this will get into your body in less than 2 minutes, into the bloodstream and circulating through. So it's a lot faster than if you take a pill with magnesium in it. So it's super important for metabolism, metabolic function. If you have insulin resistance, magnesium will probably help with that. There's a connection between low magnesium and insulin resistance. It's great for relaxation and sore muscle relief. It helps you sleep. Great for muscle cramps and achy joints. There's no sticky residue. So a lot of times if you find a different magnesium spray, it's not bonded with water like this process has done. So this doesn't leave a sticky residue at all. So it's great. It doesn't sting. It improves your mood. And there's just all sorts of different, again, there's 300 different functions that magnesium is used in the body. Highly recommend it. It's 365-day guarantee, just like anything. You can get it at bartonnutrition.com. And if you want to save 25% in addition to our already discounted prices, use this coupon code webinar25 as a coupon code. Again, that's at bartonnutrition.com and Easy Relief Magnesium. Highly recommend it. Dr. Saunders approved. It's all natural and safe. Get yours today. All right, thanks. Now back to the webinar.
All right.
All right. Well, this has been great. Nice to be in person with you guys. Yes, we are real. It's beautiful here in the mountains of Utah. What a great week. And we got to get to the airport here, so we're going to wrap up. But thanks for joining us today. Thanks for asking your questions. bartonwebinar.com is the spot to check out, the page to go. If you want to get any other copies of this or any of our supplements, webinar 25 is a coupon code to use. Let's see what else is on that page. Our YouTube link, Facebook 610 Reset page is on there, and other goodies. So we've got, all sorts of good stuff. So I was going to say too, this catalog is coming out. Like if you order a product with us, you'll be getting this catalog in the mail, which I think is a work of art. Like this is a beauty. We got, look at this, Dr. Saunders. We got the team.
It's got my picture in it. It's got to be good.
Yeah, we got our own postage paid envelope. Please don't attach one of these to a bowling ball and then send it because we have to pay the postage. So, anyways, this is good stuff. So we'll be back next week, Thursday, 11 a.m. We also have the FAQs, frequently asked questions, on that bartonwebinar.com. So, thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Take care. God bless. And make sure we get all the, did you get
I think I got it all.
Email addresses? Okay, good
Unless
stuff.
I got more.
All right. God bless. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.